Coming up on Out and About Art, you'll get a glimpse at some of the artwork that you can explore in the outdoors of Polk County, meet a local guitar teacher who has played for some pretty important people, and learn about a choir who takes us back to the good old days of music. It's all coming up, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome to this month's edition of Out and About Art. I'm your host, Dion Spires. In our day-to-day lives, we tend to go through the motions and not stop to notice our surroundings or the art that is all around us. Two organizations have done a great job at bringing artwork into the public in Polk County using pop-up galleries and vacant storefronts and sculptures in various cities. If you haven't noticed them yet, here's a look at what you've been missing and where you can find them for yourself.
In 2000, the museum initiated the Florida Outdoor Sculpture Competition, and we partnered with then just the city of Lakeland to organize the first show in the year 2000, and it involved 10 sculptures by 10 artists from around the country. In about 2005-2006, Winter Haven started to become interested in public art also, and so then it became a joint project with the city of Lakeland and the city of Winter Haven, with the Polk Museum of Art kind of facilitating the competition. And so we had 10 sculptures in Lakeland along Lemon Street, and then 10 sculptures in Winter Haven in their Central Park area. The idea actually came from who was then our gallery and exhibitions manager, Gregory Mills. Gregory started working here in the 1990s, and before that he was an apprentice with John Henry in North Carolina. John Henry is a very well-known large-scale sculptor. So Gregory had a lot of experience in outdoor sculpture, and Appalachian State University, where Gregory lived, had this great sculpture competition that they had been running for several years, and it was an annual competition. And so in 2000, Gregory decided that maybe the Polk Museum should have its own sculpture competition. And so at that time, Dan Stetson was also the director here. And so he and Gregory put their heads together along, I think, with the curator at that time to talk about how this might be organized. And so they reached out to the city of Lakeland. The city of Lakeland thought it was a great idea, and so that was really the beginning stages of the outdoor sculpture competition. We get applications from artists all around the country. In fact, 2 years ago, we received an application from an artist who lives in Israel, which I think was maybe one of the first, if not the first, international submission. But we have artists who come here and deliver work from Maine, from California, from all over the United States. We rotate the exhibition in around February or March of every year. We receive a lot of positive comments from the community. In fact, I think maybe the first or second year I was here and I was involved with the sculpture competition, I was helping an artist de-install their piece in Winter Haven, and a couple actually came by and asked us what we were doing with their sculpture. So, I mean, that really gave me the idea that, you know, these communities really do have ownership of these pieces for a year, and they live around them and they love them, and everyone loves to see it rotate every year as well. They're always anxious and eager to see what's going to come up next year. I really see public art as a means of enhancing and engaging and involving a community. You know, it's amazing how much we take for granted in our everyday surroundings, whether it be our natural surroundings in the landscape or, you know, our surroundings in terms of architecture and historic buildings. But when you start punctuating that with works of public art, not only do you start noticing the works of art, but you also notice the environment they're in. So it really starts to make you pay attention and I think really appreciate a little more the surroundings you live in every day, whether it be your town or your community or your county at large. From a museum standpoint, it's really important because it gives us a chance to work alongside the cities to organize something that is related to public art, but it also gives us a chance to bring art out of the museum. And so instead of you know, enticing visitors to come to the museum to see exhibitions here, we can actually take art to them and actually allow them for a year to live around these works of art and really kind of claim ownership of these works for a year. And so for us, it kind of meets our mission of kind of enhancing the lives of all of our diverse cultures by bringing people and art together. And so that's really one of an important way that we can do that beyond the walls of the physical museum itself.
We have a committee here in town, design committee, part of our structure here at Main Street, and we were looking for a way to improve the aesthetics of downtown. And then we also had another committee, economic development, that was looking for a way to attract more business interest and to fill some of our vacant spaces. And so we combined the two efforts by combining the artwork in the buildings of the vacant storefronts and gave us a way to market the opportunities here in Bartow as well as to improve some of the aesthetics while you're walking around downtown. Trish Pfeiffer, who's currently our mayor and city commissioner, but also serves on our design committee, had a call to artists created and sent it out for us. She took the lead on this program and was able to bring in artists from all over. We have local artists that were submitted pieces. We had pieces submitted from Melbourne, Lakeland, Miami. Just the breadth of information, the breadth of submissions that we received was really impressive. Made the decision-making process very difficult.
I had just come from Miami from Art Basel. Art Basel is one of the largest art shows in the country. People come from all over the world to Art Basel, and there's a new hip place down there called Wynwood. And Wynwood used to be a blighted area that was very scary. Now it is the go-to place for artists. And they talked about the pop art concept, and it was in one location where artists came, and it was a pop-up for either a weekend or a month, and then it goes away. And so when I came back, I'm always inspired by something when I come back from Art Basel. I came back and I was talking to Laura and I said, you know, we've got all these empty buildings, we need to make them look more attractive so that people will turn their heads and look at them and maybe draw them in like bees to honey to see what it's all about. So with that, they liked the idea, and then it was like, well, what's the art gonna be? And I said, let's do something different. And at the time, I was playing on my phone, and there are all kinds of apps that your phone comes with, or you can download for free. And what I did was, and here's an example of one. This is a picture that I took at Lowe's Garden Center. Now, that's already converted to the app art, but I took a picture of the succulents and then I manipulated it through the app, and that's what you get.
This program, we were just proud to have it here in our town, and it's a new twist and something innovative for Bartow, but it was actually picked up through our National Main Street program, through their publication, and as a way to combine design and economic development, and it was a featured project, and they walked through all the different steps that we took so that other Main Street programs could replicate it throughout the country. So that was exciting for us as well, and it gave a little more feature to those local artists and artists from throughout Florida that decided they wanted to participate in our call to artists. So it was a good opportunity for us to highlight them as well as Bartow, give us a little national recognition. The idea of people really wanting to help bolster the excitement about Bartow by submitting their art pieces and being on display here. And then we had a reception in conjunction with one of our monthly Friday fests, and the artists came over and displayed, stood with their artwork, and we're very proud to do so. And it gave us an opportunity to then create media opportunities for highlighting some of our properties, highlighting those artists, and then just giving some overall idea that Bartow, although it's a very historic Main Street, we actually are putting a new twist on it.
Both of those programs have produced beautiful artwork for us to enjoy at no cost at all. Those exhibitions will continue to rotate, so be on the lookout for new artwork in those same areas down the line. And of course, there's art to be found everywhere, so take some time to explore the rest of Polk County. You may be surprised what you'll find. Next, we have the story of a Polk State College professor who has garnered quite a reputation in a fairly short period of time. Guitar teacher Ben Pila started taking guitar lessons at a young age and has been performing since he was in school. Little did he know, when he started taking lessons, that he would one day play for the Pope. I sat down with Ben to find out more on his story and how he landed such an incredible gig.
I started playing guitar when I was 12 because I was obsessed with Metallica and Ozzy Osbourne. I had a VHS at the time of Metallica concert, and they had all these close-ups of the guitarist's left hand, and I remember being mesmerized just watching how fast his hands could move around the guitar, and I begged my parents to get me one. And at first they didn't want me to have one because I had this history of quitting things when I was a preteen, and I finally convinced them, and haven't quit yet. I started playing classical because I was forced to. And I spent the first 2 years playing electric guitar, heavy metal, really loud, distorted music, and nobody but me was a fan of that in the house. And then when I went to high school, when I showed up the first day, the teacher had been fired, and there was this new guy that I had never seen before, and he came in and he said that we'd be playing classical guitar, and I was like, get me out of here, no thank you. And I almost transferred schools actually in that first maybe month or two. And then he got me hooked because Ozzy Osbourne's first guitarist, Randy Rhoads, had a song on Ozzy's first album called D that actually comes from a Bach song. It took me a good 3 months to learn this 1 minute long song, and once I had gotten it to a point where it sounded good, I was pretty much hooked. My sophomore year of high school, my same teacher recommended that I enter this competition by tape. And lo and behold, 3 months later, I find out that I won, and they sent me a check. And I was like, what? I can make money playing guitar? This is awesome. So I just kept on doing competition after competition when I was in high school, and I ended up doing pretty well. And it just so happened that Florida State has one of the best guitar departments in the nation. And I had the Florida Bright Future Scholarship. I was already kind of planning on going there, and why not major in guitar, because that sounds awesome, go to college and major in guitar. Opportunity after opportunity, I ended up going to Juilliard, USC, and I mean, I always knew I wanted to come back to Tampa, but basically I love it, and if you can make a living doing something you love, then absolutely go for it. I got to play for the Pope because, actually through Juilliard, I happened to be in the right place at the right time on a random Tuesday afternoon in 2007, is when this all, the wheels were set in motion. I guess the woman who runs the career development office heard my voice outside, and she poked her head out, and she asked me if I was available on Thursday to play a gig. And she asked me if I wanted to play at the 9/11 ceremony. So that was a pretty big honor, and so I played my first 9/11 ceremony in 2007, played again in 2008, and I played basically every 9/11 ceremony until they stopped having music in 2013. And so the 9/11 Memorial has a music director, and her name is Kim Wirtz. When I saw her number on my phone, I thought, oh, they have music again at 9/11, because they haven't for the last 2 years. And I picked up the phone, and the very first thing she said was, so we still have no more music at 9/11, but how would you like to play for the Pope? And of course my answer was, I obviously want to play for the Pope, pretty please. So that's how I got the gig, playing for the Pope. I find that teaching guitar for me is the most valuable and important thing about it is that when you learn to play classical guitar, especially because it's so demanding and so unnatural, really. There's nothing about playing guitar that is like it's inherent in anyone. It's all learned traits. And what ends up happening is that the students learn this sense of autonomy where you put any problem in front of them and they can solve it, because through the lessons, I let them arrive at their conclusions for how to play what it is that they're playing, or how to do it efficiently. And that can just be strung across the board in basically everything they do in life. Classical, I think, is the most intense type of playing and the most complex. A lot of times you play 4 voices at a time when you only have 6 strings, but you got 4 separate voices going on, so you have to learn how to separate the bass from the melody, from the accompaniment. The most common is to have 3 voices, where you have the bass line, the melody line, and then just kind of little chords in between, but you're playing that all at the same time. And I think it just takes a lot of practice and being proficient on the instrument, because for a long time, and I see it with my students now, that until you have a certain level of technical proficiency, the musicality suffers, because you're just not capable of playing exactly what the music calls for. I think one of the best things that I can give them is I know what a struggle it is. Like, guitar was never easy for me. When I first started playing, I was terrible. My parents just hated hearing me play. They put up with it, they're good parents. But for a really long time, I was not good at guitar. And so I've gone through pretty much every struggle that they've gone through. And that gives me, I think, an extra level of patience with them, and also an extra level of helpfulness and mindfulness, because I know what it feels like, and I was there, and I remember what I did to fix the problem. Guitar is the most popular instrument. For many years it was staple in every band that was out, and I think a lot of people just like guitar. So to bring it to the Polk County art scene in a kind of artsy way, being a classical guitar as opposed to like an electric guitar, which there's nothing wrong with that. I love electric guitar. I think it can kind of bring it an upscale quality of music, even more so than is already here. The guitar is such a versatile instrument, and it's such a good bridge to classical music from all other genres, folk, rock, singer-songwriter type things, because it's got a very mellow sound and it's very versatile, and I think it's more widely liked than disliked.
Ben is a fine example of how something can start small and lead to achieving your dreams. Even with such big names on his resume, Ben continues to teach guitar right here at Polk State College, and when he's not teaching, he performs gigs all across the country. For more information on Ben and what he's up to, visit www.benpila.com. Every Thursday night in Winter Haven, you can find a group of men celebrating their love for music together. They call themselves the Sentimental Journeymen, and they bring a unique style to our county by performing barbershop music. Their shows consist of barbershop arrangements of a number of well-known songs, and I got a chance to see them in their most recent annual performance. I have highlights from that performance and more information on the way for you. Check it out.
Please give a big hand for our hosts this afternoon, under the direction of Mike Smith, the Sentimental Journeymen Chorus.
I've been with the Journeymen almost 6 years. I had never sung barbershop before. I've done a lot of music in Polk County. I even went to school at Polk State College, and Dick Shaw, one of our singers, was in the administration here. He never told me about barbershop until a few years ago.
Well, with the Sentimental Journeymen, it's about 8 years now since my wife and I retired down to Florida. Before that, I had been doing barbershop singing for 36 years.
I got my start here in Winter Haven many years ago. As a matter of fact, 48 years ago is when I first started singing barbershop, and with a local gentleman whom I admired greatly. His name was Cline Clary. Cline came down from Ohio and started a group in Winter Haven that I gravitated to eventually, and I've been involved in both singing and administration ever since, really.
My wife and I were looking for things that we wanted to do, but not necessarily with our partner, just to get away. I was originally going to be in a church choir, but it turned out that a friend of a friend of a friend said, "Hey, why don't you try looking at barbershop singing?" And I said, "I don't really think I could be in a quartet," but then I discovered the joy of a barbershop chorus, which sings the same sort of four-part harmony, but with a lot of guys.
We put together a few fellows who we knew were interested in singing and music, some that had barbershop background and some that did not.
Our group presently, we range probably from the 40s up to in the 80s. We've got some older singers. On and off, we've had singers who are teenagers, and we've had high schoolers before. We've had college-age students. They're the busiest, so it's hard for them to commit to a long-term musical project. But we really don't have any professional singers. We're all just hobby singers. A lot of us are church choir singers.
We're always seeking members, and we're anxious to have anyone who might be interested in singing to come and join us. We learn our music, sing it from memory. We generally try to illustrate the song with gestures and facial expressions, and try to keep it lively and entertaining. But if an individual loves to sing, we spend each Thursday night for about 2.5 hours honing our craft, learning the songs that we would like to be presenting to the public, and discussing chapter business and enjoying each other's fellowship.
Well, this is the annual show that we do, but we do lots of other performances around the Central Florida area. We do everything from civic events to various communities who ask us to come in as part of their social program. So it's certainly far from our only performance, but it is our annual show.
We're looking back on the old songs. There's an awful lot of tunes that were written between 1938 and now. So we have picked some things that we think will be entertaining.
We stepped out a little bit away from our safety zone for this show. And we're doing, in addition to traditional barbershop kinds of songs, we're doing things by the Turtles. We're doing Happy Together. We're doing the Letterman's version of When I Fall in Love. And in addition, we've reached way back, and we took a number that everybody knows, like I've Been Working on the Railroad, totally transformed into a very upbeat and uplifting barbershop harmony kind of tune.
Hello, neighbor, welcome aboard.
To hear men's voices singing a cappella, it just has a richness and a resonance that many other styles of music don't have. And it makes each one who's in there an integral part of the group. You have to know your part, you have to be confident on it, you have to blend well as you sing it, and to bring all of those elements together in a group of 24 guys and have a wonderful musical product come out of it. It's a very satisfying musical experience, both to work toward that and then to hear yourselves when you come to a concert.
The biggest challenge is always tuning. And it's different from the keys of a piano. You have to keep slightly nudging your notes up or down in order to make the perfect chord and create an overtone and create what barbershoppers like to call expanded sound. It sounds like there's a fifth part in the chord, and it's wonderful to hear, and it's wonderful to be a part of, especially when you're in a quartet.
My father used to say,
well, you know, we're missing an opportunity if we don't give up people a chance to sing and enjoy what they love to do as a hobby. We have tried to provide both fellowship and an opportunity to express ourselves through song here in the county, just as many other communities.
I would highly recommend anyone who enjoys singing to come out and sit in with us. It may not be for everybody. Sometimes it can be thought of as a good bit of work. We have to memorize all of our songs, and you know, it takes some time outside of the rehearsal to do that. But anybody who has had some singing experience, if you can carry a tune and match pitch and have some enthusiasm for singing, we'd love to have you, and there's a way to fit you in.
If you don't have the arts, I mean, what have you got? There are many people who can involve themselves on a volunteer, part-time basis and so forth, and scratch that itch that they have to do something creative.
Keeping the arts alive that we do through music, I think is a central part of any culture, and I just place it very high up on my priority scale.
The Sentimental Journeymen rehearse every week at St. John's Methodist Church, Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock. Men of all ages are welcome and they love new members. For more information on how to get involved and their upcoming performances, visit www.sentimentaljourneymen.com. That's all I have in store for this month. As always, thank you for joining me, and tune in next month for more art out and about.